How's it going, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing well today. Another Candid cruising video, just chatting about some thoughts that come into my mind after reflection, just thinking about ways that we can improve or how I can help you guys improve if you guys are watching. Today I want to talk about how your standards are a direct reflection of your self-respect. So something that I've noticed is that if you look at any area of a man's life, you can tell instantly how he feels about himself. And it's not necessarily from what he says, but more so what it is that he allows to happen to him, from what he tolerates. For example, the guy who stays in situations that drain him or lets people walk all over him, he has no self-respect for himself. And as a result, his life becomes relatively terrible, not worth living for himself. And it's not necessarily bad luck on his behalf, but it's more so a standards problem and what he has allowed himself to tolerate. So what exactly are standards and how do they apply in day-to-day male life? Pretty much it's not about being too difficult or being too demanding of other people, but it's more so just having a line there that you draw for yourself in which on this side of the line is acceptable, but as soon as that line gets crossed, you let the other person know or you let yourself know that, hey, I don't tolerate this. Something needs to change. And they exist in every area of your life. Your relationships, your friendships, even with yourself and what you do on a day-to-day basis, what it is that you eat, all that kind of stuff. How you talk to other people, all of it comes with standards. And the thing with standards is that most guys, they just end up accepting whatever because that's what they grew up with. They end up not tightening their standards, or they just settle for whatever standards they had when they were growing up. And because of this, it can lead to them living possibly subpar lives to what they want to live when they're older. And the whole thing with having standards is that it ties in well with self-respect. And I've noticed that a lot of self-respect is correlated to how strict your standards are on yourself. Say, for example, if you tolerate disrespect from somebody else, then it shows that you don't think that you're worth it at the end of the day. You allow the other person to speak to you in such a way in which you think it's true because you're tolerating disrespect. If you eat garbage and if you skip training, it shows that you don't value your health, you don't value yourself. Or even staying in a job that you dislike. All of it shows that you don't value yourself as much as you should. And at the end of the day, it's not about being perfect or achieving that perfect status or perfect life, but it's about having a baseline in which you don't go below ever. You have a stick in the sand in which that is your reference. That is how things should be normally. And you don't tolerate anything that is worse off than that stick in the sand. So those guys who are living lives that aren't as great as they would like it to be and having such low standards, where do those kind of standards come from? So those standards, they can come from conditioning from other people. You know, people telling you, such as your parents maybe, to not be too demanding, not to be too difficult. Another thing, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of loss, fear of grief. Even if that thing that you lose isn't good for you, still the idea of losing it, it's a fear that a lot of people have. Also familiarity. So low standards can be familiar, so it's comfortable. It's been the norm for the longest time, so it doesn't matter. It's just how things are. All those kinds of things can contribute to a person's standards over time. And in terms of raising your standards, honestly, it can come from any point and it can occur at any point in your life. But mainly what happens is when you've been building up all this tension for the longest time and you just snap, you finally have this moment where it's like, fuck, I deserve more than this. I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm not going to tolerate this shit anymore. Perhaps you've seen what life is like on the other side, you know, when you surround yourself with better people, when you surround yourself with more exercise, when you surround yourself with a healthier lifestyle, you see how much better your life becomes. And once that switch is made and you've experienced it, it's very hard to turn back and to lower your standards again. It's possible that once you increase your standards, they continue to go up and up, but very rarely do they ever drop again. And an example of this in my own words would be the switch to the carnivore diet. Once I made the change into eating that way and to living that sort of lifestyle and the benefits I experienced cognitively, physically, spiritually, then anything less than that has just become unacceptable in my eyes. That's the gold standard for me now. Strict eating, more strict carnivore. Of course, there's going to be times where I'm not going to be able to fully 100% do that, especially if I'm traveling or if I'm eating out. But that's the gold standard for me. And the cool thing about having standards and raising those standards is that if you raise it in one area of your life, then it ripples into other areas of your life too. The guy who refuses to accept a bad training session or not showing up for the gym refuses to have a bad work ethic. It goes hand in hand with each other. Another example, the man who cleans up his diet also cleans up his relationships. He gets rid of all the unnecessary junk, food, and stuff that he doesn't need. The same thing with people. He gets rid of all the people, all the things that are bad for him that he doesn't need in a relationship. Your standards are contagious in your own life. So the higher standards that you set, the higher standards that will be set in other areas of life, and it just continues to compound and grow. To finish things off, I just want to close with a couple points. Remember that nobody's going to set your standards for you. You have to sit with yourself and your thoughts for a while and think about what it is you truly want in this life and what you're willing to accept and tolerate as a person. Remember to have that self-respect when setting your standards. Set them high. Value yourself. The world will give you as much as you are willing to accept. If you're willing to accept bullshit, then the world will give you as much of it as you are willing to accept. If you accept positive things, if you accept abundance, if you accept hard work, if you accept loving people, then that's what the world will give you. Remember to decide what those things are that you are willing to accept and don't negotiate on it ever. That's how you build a life that's worth living. You start changing your standards and you start respecting yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below if you got anything related that you've experienced in terms of self-worth and standards. And I appreciate you guys dropping in today, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Remember to stay hungry. Cheers.